Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you happen to be around the world. My name is Nathan Ingram, and welcome to another Office Hours here on Hosting.com's Agency Success. So glad you're with us today. I am on the struggle bus. I've got a cold or something. I don't know. I'm feeling lousy, and I hope my voice will hold up. So I'm just putting it out there at the beginning. Hopefully, if I don't get into a coughing fit during our live stream today. So I've done all the necessary preparations regarding honey and all of those things, but hopefully we'll be in good shape. If you have a question to ask, plenty of space to ask it today. The link to ask your questions is waiting on you in the chat, as well as the link to download the deck for the weekly brief. And that's where we'll start today. So let's drag over the slide deck today because we have some fun stuff to talk about, starting with what I knew was coming from someone at some point, which is a great unpacking of the vulnerability that has come to be called WP2 shell. This was the vulnerability that is the one Matt Mullenweg said was one of the worst he'd ever seen in core WordPress. It's the bug behind the WordPress 7.0.2 release from a couple of weeks ago that was a rare Friday push for a WordPress version update simply because it was so severe. So a researcher at Searchlight Cyber, the way this was created, this researcher took OpenAI's top model and pointed at WordPress and basically said, find a way to break into WordPress, right? And it found one, which they named WP2 Shell, which basically takes an unauthenticated attacker from visitor status to admin status on core WordPress, just a stock install of WordPress, no plugins involved at all. It took about 10 hours of work for this researcher to create this exploit. 6 hours to, and when we say the researcher, we really mean the AI instance the researcher created and pointed at WordPress. So it took the AI tool 6 hours to find the bug, and then 4 hours after that to turn it into a working exploit. So 10 hours is all it took. It cost about $25 in API usage. That's it. Exploit brokers will pay up to $500,000 for a WordPress core exploit like this. So, if you want a business model, don't do that. But I'm just saying. So nearly every web application firewall rule that shipped out in the first hours after this vulnerability was announced turned out to be bypassable. A lot of those early WAF rules, including, by the way, patch stacks rules, which they talked about even in their post at this link here on the second slide, they were bypassable and because they were related to a URL pattern that was in the WAF rule, and attackers quickly got wise to that and turned it from into like a page body attack instead of the original attack, and it just went right through the firewalls there for the first several hours. PatchStack said its own early rules had the same gap. It was really industry wide. Everybody was trying to figure out how to deal with this. Cloudflare also pushed rules to every site that was under Cloudflare. So if your name servers are Cloudflare, you got a WAF patch for this on July 17th. It hasn't disclosed whether its rules were URL related like PatchStack's were and were bypassed. But PatchStack has blocked more than 65,000 attempts over 1,500 unique IPs. And the first attacks landed 90 minutes after the patch shipped. I think that number of attempts is old. That's just what was in this article. That was some of the original numbers. It's surely in the millions by now. But this is a big deal, and hopefully you're all up to date on your WordPresses. And folks, we live in the age of AI, where these AI vulnerabilities, or that's the wrong way to say it, where vulnerabilities discovered by AI tools, whether by the good guys or the bad guys, are going to become more and more prevalent. And it's going to be industry wide in the sense that every software product, I think, is going to have significant, severe exploits because these AI tools are just too smart and they're figuring out ways in. So there's always a double-edged sword, right? Speaking of AI and security, WordFence is doing some interesting things. Their AI caught a backdoor 2 hours after an attacker planted it. So on Tuesday of this week, someone slipped a backdoor into a plugin called Advanced Responsive Video Embedder, which is on about 20,000 sites. That's a lot. The malicious code went in at 8:42 in the morning, and WordFence's autonomous AI agent, which they call Prism, flagged it at 10:33. That's pretty cool. WordPress.org had the plugin closed for downloads by 11:09, about a half an hour after the report landed. So that's pretty amazing that WordFence's own AI flagged this probably AI-driven exploit, and WordPress had the whole plugin shut down within a few hours. Pretty amazing. So WordFence's own database now credits Prism with 133 fines in the last 90 days. Already 56th of all time in all of the researchers who've submitted patches in WordFence's program. It's pretty amazing. And again, this is just the nature of the game now. We're going to see more and more of this. So WordPress 7.1 is still planned. It is coming out it's set for August 19th, so just about 3 weeks away. Beta 3 is now out with 71 fixes since the original beta. They've applied a style change. They've made where when you apply a style change globally, you are able to review where you actually want that to land. Media items got fixes. There were some issues with animated GIFs uploading. I mean, okay, just quick. How many of y'all actually upload animated GIFs to WordPress at all anymore? I don't know. Anyway, I guess you want it. It's fixed. If you want it, it works now, and so forth. So lots of things going on. One of the big things that's been talked about in certain social media communities is for 11 years, WordPress has talked about supporting Unicode for email addresses. That would allow people to use non-English characters in their email address. And that got pulled again because of some security concerns. I don't know if that thing's ever going to actually happen. It's still a community plugin. The React version upgrade to version 19, which probably doesn't affect anybody here. It was of great interest to some plugin developers, got kicked down to the next release because there were some compatibility issues. But it's still scheduled for August the 19th during WordCamp US in Phoenix, the hottest WordCamp ever. All right. Moving right along. So we've been talking about this just a little bit over the last several weeks. There's been all these articles about WordPress is losing market share. And if you're a YouTube person, there's always somebody with a stupid thumbnail with a guy looking up, pointing at something and whatever. Oh, WordPress is dying and all of this. And, we hinted at this a couple of weeks ago, but there's a great article from the founder of MemberPress who argues that WordPress is not really truly losing market share. What's happening is that Google's shutting down all these spam website networks that were built 10 years ago to capitalize on keyword stuffing and all of those things. And so, yeah, the spammers have realized that tactic doesn't work anymore, and so they pulled those sites offline. They weren't real WordPress sites. So the argument is, look, among the top 10,000 sites, HTTP Archive still puts WordPress at 58% of CMS usage, which is just far and above. Like the others are little slivers in that pie chart. WordPress is not going anywhere, and it's quite healthy. So, the read into this was, WordPress market share is dropping, and it's because of all of these new tools and so forth. And the reality is, there are fewer WordPress sites, but there weren't real WordPress sites to begin with that went away. They were just these garbage spam sites anyway. So you can sleep well at night now. Moving on to the next one. This is a really interesting plugin. We just did plugin roundup last week, but this is one to stick on your list. It's called Plugin Auditor. And it's not actually a plugin, it's a website, but you can take a plugin, maybe a perfect example. You might find that someone has put a WordPress plugin out on a GitHub repo, and it looks really great. And more, by the way, more and more developers are opting not to put their plugins in the WordPress.org plugin directory for many reasons. And so you stumble across WordPress plugins on websites and on GitHub and other places. And that used to be a no-no because you didn't really know the provenance or whatever. Here's a great tool that lets you just drop the zip file right there and it'll unpack it and tell you what's in it and let you know if there's anything to be aware of. And even with no account whatsoever, you can scan 3 plugins a day. If you have an account, you get 30 scans a day. That's a lot. I don't know if I'd ever use that many. So this is a great tool just to stick in your back pocket if you want to evaluate some plugin that you found out there someplace. So pretty good stuff. Oh yeah, the developers built this because they found a 2-year-old SQL injection flaw in a plugin they'd recommended to clients that was still unpatched. So they decided we're going to build our own scanner to find these things. All right. Anyway, this is good news from the Woo team. The all of the development around WooCommerce is shifting for the next 3 months to fix WooCommerce core. And not that it's broken, but there are 2,300 open issues and 500 open pull requests, just of different things about WooCommerce core that need to be addressed. And the WooCommerce team is saying we're going to stop working on anything peripheral, and for the next 3 months, we're going to focus on core WooCommerce only. This is great. So most of those requests are submitted by merchants, developers, agencies. WooCommerce calls it a to-do list the community wrote for them. Awesome. So the 4 priorities are performance, reliability, developer experience, the store admin area, and the checkout engine. I think this is great. No downside to this. So good for them. And some comments like that in the chat. Yes, agreed. Okay. Also concerning WooCommerce, I've mentioned this to you several times, but WooCommerce 11 is one of the WooCommerce releases that you need to pay attention to because there are a few breaking changes. Now, it's only going to affect you if you're using certain add-on plugins that really get into the way inventory is managed or how the checkout flow works. And if you have plugins or custom code that is around those couple of areas, they're changing some of the hooks that are involved in that. And so you need to make sure that whatever plugins you're using have updated to be compatible with WooCommerce 11. So there's some homework to do on this. And if you have your own custom code, then you really need to pay attention to this. So they have pushed it a week. So it was scheduled for Wednesday. It's now pushed out to next week, August the 4th. And so a couple of the changes happening, orders that fail as they're being processed are now immediately restoring the stock that was taken out if you're doing manage inventory. That used to take some time for whatever reason. Now it's going back immediately, which makes more sense, but that change in the process can affect plugins that were depending on the old way of doing things. Also, any store where someone reconciles inventory are going to see different numbers based on failed purchases. So the second breaking change is that the hook that fires when items are removed from an order is now changing out. It's running at a different point. So if you've got anything dealing with items and orders, those sorts of things, just make sure that that code is going to work with WooCommerce 11. So the good news is WooCommerce 11 is slated to cut memory use by more than half on some requests by loading only the plugins that are needed for that request. So they really have this. The Woo team has really been focusing on slimming down WooCommerce, making it less bloated, making it perform better, and that's good. But just be aware of the gotchas when it comes to WooCommerce 11. Now, for the typical agency person, if you're just building sites with pretty basic, simple WooCommerce and not a ton of custom code, you're probably not going to notice any changes here. You're probably going to be just fine. Even with some of the sites we have in our agency that are custom, I don't think any of these changes are going to apply to us. I'm about 90% sure of that, but we'll be 100% sure before we actually do the upgrade. So moving on. Okay, perhaps you saw this little tidbit over the weekend. Claude shared chats have turned up in Google. Now, we all know that fear and panic really feed the algorithms of social media, right? And so as soon as a story like this turns up, you get all of the YouTube thumbnail people coming out with Claude can read, Google can read your Claude chats, and that's totally not what's going on here. Even even some of the people I would consider reputable sources on YouTube, reputable, anyway, um, they're blowing this out of proportion. So here's the deal. People went into Claude, they shared a chat with some other people, and they posted that link on a public web page. Google found the link. Go figure. And it shows up if you type site : and then the URL where Claude stores the chat. But see, like, here's what happened. And there's a good lesson in this for all of us, because here was the root of the problem. Let me see if I can dig into this. All right. So Anthropic had done two things in their process that actually cancel each other out. First, it blocked those shared chat pages with their robots.txt. Okay, that makes sense. And it put a no index on the pages themselves. So what happens is Google goes and there's a link shared on a forum or on a web or somewhere that's publicly accessible to Google. It goes to try to crawl that link, and it can't crawl it because it's no index, but because it found the link, it's now part of Google's index. So it didn't index the content of the page. It just indexed that this link exists, so you could do site : whatever and go find the links, right? So if they had not no indexed the pages, if they had not disallowed those pages in robots.txt and had only put no index, Google wouldn't have indexed them at all. But because they did both, you get this problem. And it wouldn't have been a problem at all if those people hadn't shared those links somewhere in a public place. Anyway, my goodness gracious. This is a thing that everybody was making a big deal out of and made it seem like, at least in the headlines, that, all of your Claude chats are searchable by Google. And that's totally not the case. Anyway, you got to love the YouTube thumbnail people. Moving right along, speaking of Claude, this is a really interesting story. I would recommend, if you are into AI, that you read this, because the person who invented Claude Code and who is now the head of Claude Code says that prompt engineering is not the skill you should be working on. So Boris Cherny is the person who built Claude Code. He runs it at Anthropic, and his line is this: the skill is less about prompt engineering and more about figuring out how to hand the model a task that looks too hard for it and giving it a way to verify its own work. So this kind of goes along with the way I've been talking to y'all about how to use AI. It's not necessarily about this gigantic prompt that's just like magic prompt that you put in at the beginning. It's more about making sure the AI has all the context it needs and the goal that you're trying to reach and what you want the output to be. And, then give it a way to verify its own work. Like, how do I know that this is actually correct, and let it iterate on itself? That's where our use of AI really needs to focus. So this is a great read, and I would recommend, if you're into, even not necessarily Claude, but if you're into using AI a lot, which I hope you all are, this is worth a read. Okay, moving right along to the final story, and this is a head scratcher. Y'all see this one? So I have two LG monitors. They're right in front of me here, but apparently the latest versions, if you're on Windows, you buy an LG monitor and it will install a McAfee security ad that shows up on your boot screen. Now that's just slimy, period. My goodness. So this group, Gamers Nexus, bought a $1,200 LG gaming monitor, and it was installing ads on their computers. I mean, my goodness. That's just slimy. So anyway, there you go. That is the weekly brief. I do want to mention a couple of other things. The first is one that I mentioned in the pre-show, and that is that we at hosting.com have now just today, we're making available our agency partners program. So take a look at this. And if you are interested in becoming an agency partner, there's a form to fill out here. Let's talk about why you might want to do that. If you are a freelancer or solopreneur, small, mid-size agencies, or all the way up to a large agency, wherever you fit in that, there are some benefits for you to becoming a hosting.com agency partner. Hosting.com is going to start delivering warm client referrals. There's going to be a directory listing. Agency partners get priority support. Of course, our wonderful agency success community, an on-call team of migration experts, a seat at the table on how this program is going to grow, a dedicated partner manager for your work that you're doing with hosting.com, and certified partner status. You got a badge, right? Who doesn't love a badge for their website? There you go. So there is where is it? Right here. Now look, this is not a 3-question application. They want some information. They want you to talk about what you're doing. And so it took a few minutes for me to fill this out. But I would recommend that you do it. If you are a fan of hosting.com and you're doing things on hosting.com, this is a great move. And I'm really happy that hosting.com has done this. All right, one other little bit here. A couple of live streams coming up for August. We'll have September out in the next couple of weeks for that plan. But coming up on Tuesday, we are talking about why your WordPress site is slow and how to fix it. There's going to be a lot of AI in this. So we're going to take a slow WordPress site. We're going to identify what's making it slow. We're going to use some AI tools like Novamira to try to fix some of those issues. And also on August the 18th, another AI-focused live stream. Is your site agent ready? So we'll be looking at the Cloudflare tool. Is it agentready.com? And showing you how to make all the changes that you might want to make in order to make your site more digestible to AI and more friendly to AI agents. And that's just a good thing all the way around. So a couple of fun live streams coming up in August. And of course, every Thursday, office hours here with me. All right, with that, let's get into some questions, shall we? Looks like we have in the list 6 questions. So if you've got a question you'd like to ask, use the link that is in the chat. And we will start off today with Sue. Hey, Sue. Sue says, please tell the good folks at office hours what a great idea they had to call Adobe about the increase in price they threatened me with for the suite. They doubled it. I talked to a very nice young man who cut my current price in half and refunded this month's overpayment. So thanks again. I don't know who recommended that, but I do remember that topic coming across some time ago. So good job. Save Sue some money. And if you are an Adobe Creative Suite person, do the same thing because they are jacking the rates up. That was Elizabeth. Thank you, Elizabeth. All righty, moving down the list to Stacy C. Hey, Stacy. All right, Stacy says, I've just started experimenting with Novamira on my own site. I used it to evaluate site speed and it made some recommendations. See, you're getting ahead of me, Stacy. You got to wait till Tuesday to do that. I even let it make some changes on staging. I'm sure there's a lot more I can do with it once I take the time to explore it. Since it's only supposed to be used on staging, is there a reason I really need more than 3 licenses I get with Personal Pro? I'm not keeping staging sites for all my sites, so why wouldn't I just delete the license on one, add it to a new staging site when I need it? Or is there value on putting it on a live site and just keeping the abilities turned off until needed? I think I might just not be grasping the possibilities yet. Okay, it's a great question, Stacy, and I'll give you my take on it, right? So Novamira, I think honestly, it's for CYA, where they say don't use this on a live site. And truly, like if it can break everything because it has access to everything, just like you wouldn't hand a person who barely knows WordPress, an administrator login to a live active client site and let them loose, right? So it's kind of like that. Right now, do we use Novamira on live sites in my agency? Yeah, we do. And I've gotten we let it, there are things we'll let it do on a live site that I'm not worried about because we have good recent backups. And if it's going to do anything substantial, we do a backup right before that, just like you would in any other circumstance, right? Now, inevitably, it's just mark my words that there's gonna be some YouTube video or blog post or whatever about how Novamira destroyed my website. And I'm like, look, if you let Novamira destroy your website and you didn't have a backup, that is on you, right? Can you agree with me on that? Like that's totally on you. It's just like if you had given, somebody with barely any WordPress experience an administrator login and they went and broke everything. Anyway, that's a little bit of a rant. But so your question is about the licensing, and you're saying, yeah, you're just deactivating or turning off abilities. So what we do is we deactivate the plugin altogether on sites where we're using it when it's not being used. I just think it's better that way because it's going to lower the attack surface, right? That code doesn't need to be active unless we're actively working with the website. So the question, Stacy, is how many licenses do you need? And you're right. Just maybe you could get away with 3 if you're using it that way. So, that's not a bad approach. All right, many things happening in the chat here. Let me scroll back up and catch let's see. So Billy is saying, so the process is to use it on a staging site and make the changes, then remove Novamira and move to production. Now, we don't do that unless it's like I would say most of the things we're using Novamira for are there's a problem and we're trying to figure out what it is, right? And having Novamira attached to WordPress and reading in 8 million things from WordPress so that Claude can make a diagnosis, it's great. So I'm not going to make a staging site for that. Now, if we were going to, okay, here's a whole host of changes that, we'll probably make a staging site, test it there, and then apply those changes to the live site. Sue is asking, can you summarize what Novamira does simply? Yes. Okay. So Novamira, think of it like this. Novamira is a WordPress expert who knows everything about WordPress and lots of WordPress plugins that you already use. Everything from Elementor and Cadence and Bricks and Beaver Builder and it has expertise in lots of even admin site enhancements. It has expertise in lots of these plugins, meaning it understands how they work. It understands their hooks and their framework and so forth. So it's an expert in WordPress and how WordPress works that also speaks AI. So your AI tool, Codex or Claude or whatever, can connect to WordPress via Novamira, and it can do anything. Like literally anything. I am absolutely blown away. And Stacy, yeah, you installed it and asked what it could do. So one of the things that we've started, we're using Novamira for everything right now, but I am in the process, like while I am doing this live stream, in the background, in a Claude instance, Novamira is currently at this very moment taking flat HTML mockups of a website that Claude created for a new design, and it is building them on a dev site in Beaver Builder. It's doing that right now while I'm talking. It's remarkable. Sue says, before it works, it has to be connected to yes. So Novamira is an MCP for WordPress. And so we've talked about MCPs before here. It's a model context protocol. It's a translator between some app and your AI tool that sits in the middle. And Novamira, in my opinion, is the best MCP for WordPress, bar none. Ben, does it take a lot of tokens? No, I'm not using tokens at all. I'm using my monthly Claude membership to build all this. And it works really great. Now it's taken me 6-9 months to build that process, but it works great. It's not something that I just sat down and snapped my fingers and it started working. Melanie is correct. You want to make sure you're using the correct model, period. A live stream on Novamira, perhaps. Perhaps. We'll be using Novamira on Tuesday to connect to our demo site to be fixing some of these speed issues. All right. Did I catch all the questions? And by the way, Stacy, the original asker of the question, did we even answer all this? Are you good on this, Stacy? Okay, good. Yes, it will make you increase your Claude subscription once you find out just how amazing it is. It's like here's we've got Claude connected to our ticket system so that Claude can read the ticket from the client, go look at the website based on what the client said, and come back with a probable answer of what the issue is. It's it's crazy. Totally works. Okay. Moving right along, Jamie is next. Hey, Jamie. All right. So, WP Umbrella flagged two of my sites as having an infected file. Oh, good. So, the WP Umbrella thinks that an iTheme security, Cadence security, solid security, whatever it's called, file, and this is the hack repair include file for Nginx. Anyway, I did a scan of each site using Cadence Security. Both came up clean. Then I asked AI why it would be flagged, but not in Cadence. Here's the answer. And so, who knows? Who knows what it's going to say? Okay, so Umbrella basically uses heuristic signature matching, which is a fancy way of saying it looks for things that look suspicious. It's like profiling, right? It's really it's like profiling that the police do. Like it looks kind of suspicious, so we're going to check it out. Um, yes, you likely safely yes, and on this particular file, you could download the latest Cadence security, and if that file is there in it, in the plugin, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, WP Umbrella is trying to be helpful. They really are. But yeah, false positives oftentimes not so positive. And yeah, Stacy's right. Tools like this that are using heuristic scanning, and it's pattern recognition, right? Like this doesn't look quite right. And it could be that there's some base 64 encoded in that file or something like that, which is a technique that malware people use to obfuscate their malicious code. So it's lazy security. We'll say that. Is that fair? It's kind of lazy security. But honestly, I mean, I'm running right now in the background of my Mac Sophos antivirus. It does the same thing. It's all heuristic scanning for the most part. Like there are known virus signatures, and then they look for things that are virus signature like to also flag. It's just they've always done that. Just be aware that it's using that, and you will get more false positives than otherwise. Oh, what antivirus am I using? Sophos or Sophos, or however you want to say it. This one. This is one that my buddy Tom Rafe recommended as the best one for Mac. And if you know Tom Rafe, you should always listen to Tom Rafe. Yeah. So the Mac one, it's in here somewhere in their very confusing menu. Somebody there should, one of you guys should try to offer them to rebuild their website because it's very confusing. Okay. Next in the list is Eddie. Hey, Eddie. I feel my voice is starting to fail. So hopefully we'll make it through the next 20 minutes. All right, Eddie. This is not a question, but I'm happy to hear your comment. Oh, is it a soapbox opportunity? Last week, you introduced us to the AI crawler plugin. I've installed it on my website. I like the dashboard and the information I get. Yeah. I noticed the Amazon bot is crawling my website like crazy. In less than a week, 167,000 requests. Holy cow. What's interesting is that my author page is crawled by far more than any other page. Eddie, you're just famous. Therefore, I went and optimized my author page by adding a description and social links. I've started a debate on Reddit about whether I should block the Amazon bot. It's a training bot for AI, service product, and Alexa. The recommendation I've gotten is I should not block the bot unless I feel my website response is suffering. I don't remember any issues with my website. As an SEO expert once told me, remember, you want to be in the training data. Yes, that's increasing the chance of getting cited. That's why I thought I needed to optimize my author page. It certainly can't help. And I would say, Eddie, that was pretty smart. So, according to my information, the AI crawler is a new plugin launched in early July. And since I've installed it, there have been 2 updates. Yeah. So, that AI crawler plugin that we did, I think that was the mini orange one in the plugin roundup last week, was a really good plugin. It gives you visibility to notice things, just like Eddie said, that you might not otherwise have known. And I think you got a good idea here, Eddie. If it's hitting your author profile page a lot, make use of that. You know, they're spending the energy to crawl your page, so give them something worth crawling. 167,000 requests, though. Can we say charitably that that's excessive? That's a lot. So I don't know. That would be borderline of me wanting to do something about it, but it depends on if you're on metered hosting or not. If you're on metered hosting and those visits are starting to count against you, then maybe, or change your hosting platform or something. But yeah, in general, you do not want to disallow AI indexing of your site in any way. Okie dokie. Next we have 3 questions left. So if you've got a question you'd like to ask, probably still space to do that. We are down to 1 of 3 remaining questions. All right, Jamie. Jamie says, she has sites hosted on an unfortunate third-party host other than hosting.com. That's unfortunate. Jamie, are you asking me to answer technical questions about another host on a hosting.com live stream? That's all I'm saying. Okay. One site is on an Nginx server. I'm just amusing myself now at this point. It's on an Nginx server with Redis object cache, and the rest are on an OLS server. What is an OLS server? I think either the medication I'm taking is clouding my memory of this, or I don't know. Oh, Open Lightspeed. Thank you. Yes. An Open Lightspeed server with Object Cache Pro. I've been running into an issue with plugins needing a security patch updates not showing up in my dashboard. Okay, that is likely object caching in the admin area. Yeah, clear your object cache, manually update by the latest zip. Okay, yeah, so this is a side effect of overly aggressive object caching, like Redis caching, in the admin area. And so you really have to decide. I know on hosting.com, you can choose to opt in or out of caching the admin. And, in some cases, it's worth it. Like if you have a really heavy WooCommerce site or whatever, and pages are slow in the back end, object caching can really genuinely speed that up. Now, on the downside of that is that sometimes you run into stale data because it's cached and you have to, either manually reset the cache or wait. So yeah. So you've tried doing this, and that's really all you can do. And it's going to come down to how your host, which is not hosting.com, has that object caching managed. Yeah. It's going to be related to settings, but hopefully your support is going to help you with this. Okay. So I don't know. That's a great question. I do know that is like case in point what happens. It's the downside of object caching, which is generally a good idea to do. Object cache. We do it, but yeah. It's weird. I will say this. I have never experienced uh, updates lagging because of object caching. So it could be the way that cache is being implemented on that other host. One of the things you might try, Jamie, is there's probably, if you're using the Lightspeed Cache plugin, there is probably, well, a matter of fact, it should be on the site. Let me just double check here. Lightspeed. Yes, it's not active. Lightspeed cache, under object. So I don't have it on for this site, but there should be yeah, right here. You can turn off cache the WP admin and it will still cache the front end and you'll get the benefits of object caching on the front end, but make sure the admin area is turned off if that's causing your trouble. Just once you do this and you hit save, make sure you dump your cache right there. There you go. So that should help. Okie dokie. Next up is class. 2 questions left for today. If you have a question you want to add to the list, link is in the chat. Okie dokie. Class. Novamira, Claude, and rebuilding a website. I have some websites that need rebuilding in moving from one WordPress theme to another. Can I somehow point my AI team at the old site and have it create the functional visual equivalent on a dev site with another theme? Let's say, I guess that's say, from the 2016 theme and custom coding to Cadence. Class, I think that is 100% possible. And it will be fairly easy. Now, what you'll want to do is have Novamira on both sites and make sure that session of Claude has access to both of them through one means or another. And yes, yeah, like the process that we builds for a site rebuild, builds a flat HTML file that we show to the client and get approval on. And then it takes that and builds it into whatever, the actual website in WordPress. And so it's no different. Like you could take it from one site, rebuild it into another site. So are you basically like you want to keep all the visuals the same-ish? Or do you actually want to improve the visual? Because it'll probably do either. I mean, the AI tool can do whatever you want. It's just how you give it the instructions. So if it's pretty much the same, then what I would do, I would point Claude at the source site in Novamira and say something like, all right, take a look at this site. I want you to create a design system for this site, and it'll know what you mean by that, like how things are designed, typography, and decisions that are made and so forth, and then build that in Cadence blocks or Beaver Builder or Elementor or whatever you want to use over on this other site. And it might astound you at how just about exact it does it. Ben is asking, do I use Claude Design for the first step? And the answer is no. Claude Design is a powerful tool for Claude Design is a powerful tool for people who use AI at the surface level. How's that? It's incredibly powerful. It'll do a lot of things. It is for not like a super AI geek, right? What we've done, like we don't use it because we have processes built out already that do what Claude Design does the way we want it done. And so we're basically doing the same sorts of things, but outside of Claude Design, just in a standard Claude Code session. Look, experiment. That's the whole point of that. That's the whole point of that article that I shared in the weekly brief is just get in there and try some stuff, right? See what it'll do. And this going from one site to another. Okay, look, time out. How many of you right now have a WordPress site from 8 million years ago that you built, right? And it could use a rebuild. Go get the free version of Novamira and set it up in your Claude or Codex, whichever flavor of AI you're using. And by the way, Novamira just added an OAuth connector. It makes it super easy to connect your tool now to Novamira. It makes it really easy. Just Tell it to look at the front end of the original site and then give it access to a blank version of WordPress and tell it to rebuild it. And I bet you, you will be absolutely shocked at what it does for you because it's super powerful. Now, if you have the pro version of Novamira, you get access to its expertise with page builders and specific blocks and so forth, like cadence blocks and etc. But even the free version will build in core blocks, and it's pretty darn good. Let's try it. That, we get better at things like this by simply trying it. Everything that I'm doing with AI right now started out because I got curious to see if we could do something, and then we did. And I've just built layer on top of layer of things that we tried and they worked, and so we tried the next thing. So just be curious about it. Dive in, and you'll be absolutely shocked at what you can do. Elizabeth, am I using blocks? No, we're using Beaver Builder still. I still, to this day, you've heard me say this over and over again, I still like Beaver Builder for clients. Like, it's the perfect middle ground between a tool that can let us do what we need to do as developers and a tool that a typical client can still just pick up and edit. And I still like it. So our process is still built on Beaver Builder. That's just us. Elizabeth is asking, will it do that? Yes. The pro version of Novamira has an expertise for Beaver Builder. They built it in. And so it knows how to build a site completely in. I mean, we're about to launch a site in a couple of weeks that was built through this whole process. And Novamira took it from a static HTML file and built the WordPress site in Beaver Builder using the box module all the way through it. And it's brilliant. It works. All righty. Moving right along to the next question from Gene. Hey, Gene. Go figure. A new AI question. All right. Hey, Gene. All right. Any suggestions for image generation with AI? My clients are getting better results than me with AI images. One client is created excellent infographics from content. Yep. In another instance, rather than image generation, I'm trying to get AI to create layouts from images I supply. When I use Claude or ChatGPT to create some layouts, the results are very unsatisfactory, and I end up building the layouts manually. It was a hero image of many products laid out to fit in a hero dimensions. I do find the iterations get worse and worse when I ask for edits. Yep. Do you have suggestions on how to request edits? I try to be clear about make this minor edit, but don't recreate the whole image. It just doesn't seem to understand, and it does its own thing. I know it does that. Yes. So my question to Eugene is, why are you doing this as an image? So you're just trying to build a layout mockup. Is that right? Or you're actually trying to build a full hero image? Okay. Oh, just the hero image. Well, that's interesting. So what AI tool are you using for this? Because Claude is terrible at image generation. It is brilliant at other things. It's brilliant in just about everything else except for image generation. Okay, yeah, don't use Claude. Now, ChatGPT is fantastic with image generation. And so, and Stacey's saying she's had success with Perplexity. I've had some others say that as well. I use ChatGPT for that. So, I mean, I would have to see how you're interacting with it. Gemini is also good, although the newer models of ChatGPT have excelled far past Gemini, the Nano Banana. Maybe you heard about that, the release that Gemini has. ChatGPT, just basic ChatGPTs, in most tests and I found it personally, it's better at generating images. But Gemini is probably number 2. You're uploading images and a sketch of a suggested layout. Interesting. So I will say that what you're describing right there is probably the hardest thing for an AI to do. Like, are there product images you said? Are they already isolated, or are you asking the AI tool to cut those out for you? Because if you're not, that's what I would suggest. Okay, it's a white background. I mean, it should be able to do that. You might try just dropping those in Photoshop and pulling the backgrounds out of them, and just have the image on a transparent background. You might find that works better. But sketching out AI is always better at starting from scratch to generate the image that you want. when you want to give it additional context with other images in a sketch, that's a lot. I mean, think about it. That's a lot of context, and that's where it's going to struggle, at least today. So, in its defense, you've probably handed it one of the hardest tasks that a generative image tool can be given. Um, so try, yeah, I would bet you that if you would, and this maybe I would even experiment with this, Gene, rather than giving it a sketch, I would describe how you want this to be. These images stacked in 3 columns with equal distance between them on a background that looks like this. Try that because that may give you better results. Oh, and that's a great tool. It's been around forever. I didn't even think about that. Remove.bg. Just drop a file in there. And it actually works. And I think you get pretty decent, even at the free level, they give you, I forget, several a day, but you can use it a lot. Yeah, I think it's the sketch that it trying to understand what you meant in that sketch is probably blowing its mind. And I'm sure AI is going to get better at that sort of stuff, but today that's where we are. Oh, Gene, you're saying you had an earlier question. Okay, another question from Gene. Sorry about that. I don't know how I missed that, but I did. All right, Gene says, I have several sites on WP Umbrella. 2 WP Umbrella questions today. I have the add-on for Patch Stack enabled. Umbrella recently added a security feature that has a malware scan and shows if files have malware. It sounds like another question we just had. Today, I was shocked to see the new feature shows that all of my sites have malware in the files, and I bet you it's the same issue that we just talked about earlier. Since the feature was just enabled, the date of malware detection is in the last 7 days, and I'm thinking it could have been there before and undetected. It's probably not. This is probably that heuristic scan getting overly aggressive about files it thinks are vulnerabilities but aren't. So where are the sites hosted, Gene? Because hopefully your host has some sort of malware protection. That's a good host should have malware protection running. So I don't know about SiteGround. If you're on hosting.com, you've got Immunify running in the background, and it would tell you for sure if there's malware. You do need that malware scan. This is another example of that multi-dimensional security, multi-layered security. That file level malware scanner, honestly, shouldn't be happening out in some cloud service scanning your site. It really needs to be at the server level because, I mean, think about it. That WP umbrella is the scanner has to come in through its PHP plugin to do the file scan. And any intelligent malware can intercept those results and tell WP Umbrella that it's fine. There's no malware here. So that's just not malware. File level malware scans should happen at the server level, not in a SaaS or a plugin like WordFence or something like that. That's not where you should be doing your file scanning. Do your file scanning at the server level. So talk to your host about that and see if they have file level malware scanning, and that would be your source of truth. So it's a new thing from WP Umbrella. Yeah. So, look, they're trying to add features. I don't blame them. It's just not the best place to do that scanning. Not that it can't find malware. It's just if you want a malware scanner that you can rely on, it needs to be running at the server level, period. Okay. Tanya is next. Novamira. I hear a recurring theme here. Novamira, do you need the pro version? Do you need to keep it active on a site after the build? So, do you need the pro version? Maybe. It depends on what you're trying to do with Novamira. So, if you need any of the expertises like gravity forms or your page builder or block set or whatever, then yeah, Novamira Pro. The core Novamira does a great job with core WordPress, and it does decent even with all these other tools. It just doesn't have the expertise built in. Do you need to keep it active on a site after the build? No, you don't. It's just a way for your AI tool to talk to WordPress. Oh, Novamira is increasing pricing. I can't type. Here we go. All right. Oh, look. Okay. All right. I told you all this earlier when the lifetime deal was before it went back up again. I don't even know if they still offer the lifetime deal. Yes, they do. Okay, look, I'm gonna tell you this. I would jump on this. I'm not getting paid by Novamira, whatever. I I have found this to be one. mm, this is as big of a deal to me in WordPress as Backup Buddy was in 2010. So those of you that have been around WordPress and have known me since way back then, Backup Buddy was a revolution that lets you easily back up your WordPress site. It was a game changer. Okay. This is that level and probably even greater because this single tool has completely transformed our processes. Completely. And this is a no brainer. So if you are interested in this at all, um, okay, it's only 50. Okay, it's only 50 pounds. So it's not going up like double. But if you're thinking about doing this, do it. Just do it. This you will so make back 250. Like you'll make back if you're using this like you should, you'll make $250 or $300, 249 euro, however that translates out. You'll make that in a week. Like it's a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer. I didn't know the price was going up. Good for those guys. I mean, they're building amazing things, and that plugin is they are dropping releases like almost weekly with new stuff. I'm a huge fan. Okay, so you don't have to have the pro plugin, but yeah. One final question here, Richard. Hey, Richard. Where is the best place to learn about a Novamira contest file? Richard, what do you mean by a Novamira contest file? Oh, context file. Sorry. My brain is not working. I would have gotten that otherwise. Okay, a Novamira context file. So when you talk about a context, this is, I'm not sure what you mean by context file even. So what you mean, how do you talk to Novamira to have it do what you need it to do? Is that what you're after? Okay. So you just have a conversation with Claude. So literally, this is what we do, and you'll see this. I think this will become clear on Tuesday when I connect Novamira to our site that we're trying to speed up, and I'll just talk to it like I'm having a conversation. I don't, like I mentioned earlier, I don't do the giant prompt at the beginning. I'm just, hey, look, connect to this site, and we're trying to speed this thing up. So take a look at it and see what's going on slow, and it'll go look at it. Claude will look at it, and and Novamira can connect to the WordPress part and figure out what's going on. And so it's much more conversational than it is, oh, I've got to have this whole context thing built and figured out and so forth. So the most important thing you can have when it comes to AI is curiosity. Curiosity and the willingness to step in and just see what will happen, right? And if you're nervous about breaking something, make a backup and do it on a staging site, right? Just connect the tool and then start asking it questions. Start having a conversation, and you'll see all of a sudden all the things that you can do with this AI tool in WordPress. And it's whether you use Novamira or one of the other MCPs for WordPress. It's all about having that conversation, asking questions, being curious. So that's what we will do live on Tuesday at this same time. We're under the banner of speeding up a WordPress site, but we're going to do a lot of that work using the Novamira MCP. Well, folks, that's going to wrap us up for the day. All the questions are finished, and it is a few minutes after 2 p.m. Central, so I'm going to land the plane. Thanks for hanging out with me for the last hour. Make sure you come back for that live stream on Tuesday, all about Novamira and WordPress and speeding up WordPress. It's going to be a blast. Have a great weekend, and I will see you back here Tuesday on Hosting.com's Agency Success, where we go further together.